Hello, this is the Burt Locker. I'm Burt Green. This episode of the Burt Locker is focused on UFC Vegas 75, headlined by Marvin Vettori and Jared Cannonier in the middleweight division. This is a casuals guide. Basically, it's a quick run through. Every single fight is covered. I'll go through every fight on the card, cliff notes on every fighter, just little bits of information, some of it funny. If I don't know them too well, I'll find something fun to talk about with them. And yeah, so you get a little bit of information on every single fight on the card so that when you watch the fights, you just have a bit more knowledge on some of these guys that, with the greatest of respect, aren't the most well-known fighters, so that you get the most out of this card when you watch it on Saturday. Sound good? Stay with me for the Burt Locker Casuals Guide to UFC Vegas 75. Okay, we're starting off in the light heavyweight division. This one's got a good UK prospect, well, UK/Lithuanian. We've got Zach Palga, 7-1, taking on Modestas Bukauskas, 14-5. This is 6'2", playing 6'3", with a 2-inch reach for Bukauskas. Now, Palga, I don't know much about him. Honestly, he fought in Cage Warriors as well, and on The Ultimate Fighter, so he is a similar level to Bukauskas. He's got mainly decisions and KOs, so that from that information, I'd glean that he likes to stand more than anything. Bukauskas, he's a very good kickboxer, right? He fights very long, he fights long well, he throws straight punches pretty well. This is his second UFC run. His last one got ended by Khalil Roundtree with that horrible step kick that kind of snapped his leg backwards. Go back and watch that one, but actually don't, it's horrible. I mean, do if you like that kind of thing, but don't, it's horrible. And yeah, so Bukauskas, I quite like him, he's good. He went back to Cage Warriors for a short run. I think he got fortunate against Lee Chadwick. I will be honest, I said that at the time, I still believe it now. I thought Lee Chadwick honestly won that fight, but they wanted to kind of give him that boost to get back into the UFC, so he got the nod. Because Lee Chadwick fought brilliantly in that fight. Nothing against Bukauskas, but I don't believe he won that fight. Chuck Campbell, he destroyed him, but Chuck Campbell is not the best. Anyway, Bukauskas did then come back into the UFC and he fought Tyson Pedro. Tyson Pedro, he beat. That's a big scalp because Tyson Pedro is good, man. He was on his second UFC run as well, coming back from injury, and he looked better than ever. So to beat Tyson Pedro on the form that he's been on recently, that's really, really impressive. It's a good sign. So look, I don't know too much about Palga, but if he stands with Bukauskas, I just think Bukauskas is going to be too much for him at this stage. I think he fights long well. He covers a lot of distance. The cross down the pipe is probably going to be the one that gets it done. I'll take Modestas Bukauskas in this one. Dan Argueta taking on Ronnie Lawrence in the bantamweight division. 5'7", plays 5'8", with a half-inch reach for Lawrence. Now, Argueta says that he does Mexican judo. I don't know what that means, okay? Judo form of... Mexican form of judo, I would assume. His nickname is Determined. That's a terrible nickname. Get a better nickname. He's got a good record, though. He's from Jackson Wink, so his grappling must be pretty good. And... yeah, he's probably going pretty good all round if he's from that gym. Lawrence, The Heat. God, they're running out of nicknames at this point anyway, aren't they? Anyway, he's an AKA guy, good kickboxing. Path of least resistance for Argueta is the grappling. I'm going to say submission for Argueta. And then you've got Teresa Bleda, 6-1, the Chechen, taking on Gabriela Fernandez, 8-2, the Brazilian. In the ladies 125 division. 5'9", plays 5'6", with a 5-inch reach for Bleda. Bloody hell. Bleda is nicknamed Ronda. I don't know why, because her style is not very similar to Ronda's. She's also nowhere near as dominant. So, I mean, she looked terrible in her last fight as well. Overall, she's pretty talented. She's solid in every area, I would say. Fernandez lost her debut to Jusudavicius, who's pretty good, to be fair. She's a pretty good fighter. She just dominated Miranda Maverick in... the Charles versus... No, UFC 289, sorry. She's a solid all-rounder anyway, Fernandez. Interesting fight this. Both are quite even on paper. Slight experience in favour of Fernandez. So, I like what the Brazilian ladies are doing right now. For purely that reason, I'm going to take a Bleda submission. Zaglas Zumagulov taking on Felipe Bunez, the Brazilian. So you've got Kazakhstan versus Brazil in this one in the men's flyweights, which is 125 pounds. 5'4" plays 5'7". Presumably the reach in favour of Bunez with that kind of height. Zumagulov is someone that you thought was actually better than they are. He's solid in every area, but he just falls behind in fights. He does, and he's got a pretty bad record recently. 1 in 6 is not great. Come on, man. That's a weak division, though, so that's why he's still there. Bunez is quite large for 125 pounds. I wonder what that weight cut is like. 5'7", 125 pounds. That's I don't know. That seems like a lot of weight. Anyway, he's got lots of jumping triangles on his record, so he uses that length well, the arm bars. So look, he's probably got a pretty aggressive guard. Zumagulov is going to be outsized here. For that reason, I like the grappling of Bunez to be the difference maker here. Bunez probably gets the win in that one. Carlos Hernandez, 8-2, taking on Denis Bondar from the Ukraine. 125 pounders again. You've got 5'8", playing 5'6", with a 2-inch reach for the Ukrainian. Again, 5'8" is huge for flyweight, man. Anyway, Hernandez is a pretty accomplished grappler. Chases submissions, but he is good with positioning. And the psycho, Denis Bondar, he is a psycho as well. Look at those Manson lamps there. Good Lord. Anyway, he's a finisher. He's got all 14 wins with a finish, 10 submissions, 4 knockouts. Look, he's pretty good, guys. I mean, to get that kind of finish rate at 125 pounds is impressive. For me, experience plays a factor in this one. I like Bondar. I think he has the edge. Knockout for me. I think he'll have the advantage, despite the reach disadvantage that he's going to be at. Kyung Ho Kang, South Korean, 18-9, taking on Christian Quinones, the Mexican, 18-3, 135-pound bantamweight division. 5'9", plays 5'8", with a 3-inch reach for Kang. Now, Kang, he's straight out of an early 90s Steven Seagal film where he played henchman number 3. Like, literally, look at the state of him. He was a bantamweight champ, Road FC. I don't know what that is. I think it's East Asian pro promotion. I don't know. He's got lots of submissions, so presumably he can grapple. El Niño Problema. I don't know what that... Doesn't that translate to the boy problem? What? Well, does he have a problem with boys, or he's a boy that is a problem? I don't know. Maybe that's a terrible translation, but I think the boy problem, that doesn't sound like a good nickname. It sounds like the kind of a teenage pop star's like album title. The problem with boys. I don't know. Either way, look, odd nickname or not, this dude, he can really crack. He's good. He's got some really nice boxing. He's got a boxing heavy style. He gets lots of KOs. He's got nice tattoos. He really does have it all. The El Nino Problema is probably going to be a problem here. Quinones by knockout for me. Jimmy Flick, 16-6, taking on Alessandro Costa, 12-3. The Brazilian taking on the American, 125-pound division. Again, lots of flyweights on this card. A lot of flyweights. 5'7", plays 5'4", with a 1-inch reach for Flick. How are these 5'7" guys getting down to goddamn 125 pounds? Christ almighty. Well, okay, so Jimmy Flick, he's pretty big for this weight class. He usually uses that in the grappling to get the submissions, and he has 14 of those on his record. Costa is also a grappler predominantly. He lost his UFC debut. He's okay, if unspectacular on the Contender Series. For me, this one likely becomes a grappling contest. I will take the larger of the two, which is Flick for this one. Nicholas Dalby takes on Muslim Sadikov. Got the Danish taking on the Russians. 170 pounds, welterweight division. So you've got 5'7", playing 5'11", with a 4.5-inch reach for Dalby. Now, Dalby is a Viking. He's solid in every area. But, man, he likes to get into a scrap. He's fun to watch. He really is. I'll tune into every Dalby fight. He's really good at beating people up on the cage, especially. But his record, I don't know, he can fall behind on the cards sometimes. Salikov, he's a bit of a monster, honestly. He's a master of sport in Sanda, which is a form of Chinese kickboxing. He has beaten some very good guys. Zaleski dos Santos, who I really rate. He just beat Abubakar Nurmagomedov. We saw that about a week or two ago. He landed a sweet spinning back kick in his last fight. Salikov, that is. He's 39 though, which is not young for a welterweight, but Dalby's 38, so neither of these two guys spring chickens for welterweight. For me, I like Dalby's style, but Salikov, he's probably too physical to be bullied on the fence in the way that Dalby likes to do. In open play, I like Salikov by the knockout. I like him to knock out just about anybody in open standing from the middle of the cage. So that's the prelims. We're now moving on to the main card. If you could do me a favour and hit subscribe for me, that would be much appreciated. Leone Barcelos, 17-4, the Brazilian, taking on Miles John, 13-2, the American, 135-pound bantamweight division. 5'7", plays 5'7", with a 1-inch reach for Johns. Leone son Loati, son of Loati, sorry. He's got a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt from his dad, he's been grappling since he was 5. He prefers to strike normally, but that BJJ black belt makes it easier not to worry about the takedown. He's only 36, but he does look like he's 50. That he might have a fake birth certificate, I'm saying. So Miles Johns, he loves Adderall. He tested positive for Adderall. He loves it. He's been very vocal about that. Solid fighter as well. He's got good hands. I like Barcelos in this one, though. I think it's pretty even on paper, but I think the grappling gets it done. Manuel Torres, 13-2, the Mexican, taking on Nicolas Mota, 13-4, the Brazilian, 155-pound division. 5'10", plays 5'9", 3-inch reach for Torres. Torres is a guy who's got very slick boxing, from what I remember. If I might be thinking of someone else, but either way, he's got really good hands, and he does know how to do chokes as well. Mota is a monster on the feet, and he loves looking for that knockout. For me, I like Torres here. If he is the guy that I'm thinking of, his footwork and boxing are kind of out of this world. If he's the guy that I'm thinking of, and I think it is anyway. Torres in that one. Pat Sabatini, 17-4, taking on Luca Almeida, 145-pound featherweight division, 5'8", plays 5'11", with a 1-inch reach for Almeida. Sabatini is a dangerous BJJ black belt under Daniel Gracie. He likes a leg lock slash heel hook. He's built like a monster. Maybe he's on those Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu supplements. You never know. Those Gordon Ryan supplements, you know, those tasty supplements. Anyway, Almeida, he's a dangerous Brazilian. Lots of knockouts on his record. Just he's finished every single win so far. 9 knockouts, 5 submissions. God damn, he is good. He's got very dangerous power. He carries it to the later rounds as well. A couple of his finishes are in round 3. So I'm taking Almeida in that one. Armen Petrosyan, the Russian, taking on Christian Leroy Duncan, the Brit, in the middleweight division. Now this one's very, very interesting for me because I like Christian Leroy Duncan. But 6'3", he's playing 6'2". 8-inch reach for Duncan. My God, he's got some long arms. Stretch Armstrong over here. Anyway, Petrosyan is a Russian kickboxer. He burst onto the scene with a nice head kick on Dana White's Contender Series. He's done okay in the UFC so far, but we haven't seen him replicate that kind of power. He's not killing people like he did on the regional scene. Duncan is a UK kickboxer. He cut his teeth in Cage Warriors, won the middleweight title, 6 out of 8 wins by knockout. So you've got to watch out for those flying knees because he does throw them, and he's very, he throws them effectively as well. He fights long. I don't know how good Petrosyan's wrestling is. We haven't seen a lot of it. We also haven't really seen Duncan fight a real wrestler yet. But I don't think, looking at Petrosyan's record, I don't think he's like a wrestler that's going to cause too many problems. Anyway. This one on paper, it looks like it's going to be a stand-up affair. If it is, then Duncan knockout is a fairly safe bet. He's got a 9-inch reach. Come on, man. Crazy. Anyway, Arman Sarukian takes on Joaquim Silva, the Brazilian. So Georgian versus Brazilian, 155-pound lightweight division. 5'7", plays 5'8", with a 3.5-inch reach for Sarukian. Now, Sarukian's one of those Georgian killers. He really is. He's above average in every area. I'd even go as far as to say he's good in every area. He mixes the wrestling and the striking really well. He's a master of sport in MMA and in freestyle wrestling, right? He combines it in a way that most people, you just don't see them do. He's only 26. The best is yet to come for Sarukian. Future champion for me, Clive. Silva, he's a very good BJJ Muay Thai guy from Brazil. Obviously, we know where the dangers are there, submissions and kickboxing. I think his BJJ black belt frees up his striking a little bit. Frees up the fear of the takedown. But for me, look, as good as Silva is, I think the Sarukian's probably just better in every area, honestly. So for me, I'm taking Sarukian. The problem is, Sarukian's so good in every area, he's a nightmare to pick how he's going to win. But win, he probably will. Then you've got the main event, Marvin Vettori taking on Jared Cannonier, 19-6-1, taking on 16-6. 6 foot, playing 5'11", with 3.5-inch reach for Cannonier. Now, Vettori, he's a very strong striker. He's got TKO power, not necessarily one-punch knockout power, but he still has power. Make no mistake about that. He's still a strong, powerful guy. He generally overwhelms opponents by putting on a pace they can't match, mixing in takedowns, and solid fundamentals on the feet. That's what I like. He does the basics very, very well. Body kicks as well. Watch out for those. Anyway. Cannonier, he's a scary proposition when he's confident. He's a confidence fighter. He's a powerhouse. He's got huge knockout power, and we've seen it before. His ground and pound is also very nasty. Don't let him get confident. That's a problem. For me, this depends on the kind of pace that Vettori puts on. If Vettori gets respect early on Cannonier, he's going to negate a lot of what makes Cannonier dangerous, which is when he lets those hands go. If Cannonier isn't confident, he doesn't let the hands go. That's when he falls behind. That's when he generally gets beaten. I don't see Vettori doing that. I think Vettori is probably going to go at him like a bull because he does that. Also, Vettori is very difficult to knock out. He's never been knocked out. The reason for that is his defense is actually very solid. For me, I'm going to take Vettori by decision in that one. And that is all I've got time for on this one. I'm going to recap all these next week. If you've enjoyed this, please hit subscribe. Until next time, keep those odds long and those bets terrible.